It's time for our next talk, after which we will have again the lunch break, same as yesterday. So, first I made a mistake when announcing Mihailo is the different name of the talk. So, Mihailo Joksimovic with We Are Developers and We Need Therapy. Please, let's hear it for Mihailo.
Okay. Sorry to disappoint you with the title, but maybe next time. All right. It's funny, actually. I've been doing REBT therapy, rational emotional behavior therapy, for well over 7 years now, and I tackled a bunch of issues, solved number of problems. You wouldn't even believe how many things, at least, I dealt with. And funny enough, this is actually funny. To this day, and I kid you not, to this day, every time I do something that my girlfriend or my friends or my parents dislike, every time they're like, that therapy isn't helping you at all, is it? 6, 7 years after, all this stuff, they're still using this as a weapon against me. And, for one, it actually frustrates me, because it just shows me how ignorant people are. And it's not like a therapy, it's like a pill that you can swallow and solve all the problems, And for two, it actually amuses me. And it actually amuses me because it shows me that there is this landscape and there is this void that somebody needs to fill with some more information about the therapy and stuff. And that's exactly where I see what I see as my point today. And I'm Mihailo, and I'll be happy to be your presenter today. And I honestly actually hope that you will enjoy listening at least a bit of what I enjoyed preparing this for you. Now, before I dive into the why and how, or lessons learned and stuff, I'd like to share a story with you first. And not just any story, but actually a personal story. And the reason why I want to do so is because I'm pretty sure that so many of us, and you wouldn't believe it actually, but so many of us actually experience the exact same issues and exact same problems. But instead of sharing with others, we keep that to ourselves, we keep ourselves isolated, and we feel like, yeah, we are the only ones dealing with that. And we never seek help because we never share it with anybody. And I just think that sucks, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my story of how I actually ended up going to therapy and going for well over 7 years. And what I'm hoping is that you might identify yourself in that, and maybe it will kickstart you to start this journey as well. Now, I would honestly say that this image is kind of the perfect representation of a story that's about to unfold. The story starts maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, probably. I was already, hopefully by Antonio standards, senior developer. I was leading teams. I was doing all the kind of stuff. I was also kind of a high achiever. Well, I hope I still am a high achiever, And, I was investing a lot of hours in work, really a lot. And one thing that many of us don't really realize is that so many of us who are in development, be it as a programmer or QA engineer or product owner, so many of us are actually perfectionists. And I know it sounds cool to be a perfectionist, but trust me, it's not. Some traits are positive, but in overall, it's kind of not that cool. So you can actually do a really quick self-test to determine if you have some perfectionist traits. So let me ask you a question, and just think about it. Was there ever an instance when you wrote a piece of code that was perfectly working, it was perfectly fine, it was solving the problem at hand, and yet you decided to rewrite it? And then you kept rewriting it, and again, and again, and again. And you kept rewriting it until you hit the deadline. So I'm sure at least some of you can identify, right? And if you can, and I'm pretty sure you can, then you probably have some perfectionist traits. Now, the problem is that this comes with some baggage, And obviously I didn't know about it, so I was a perfectionist, I was driven, I was senior, and I was young and inexperienced. And I honestly had no clue how to do this thing. You know, especially when you get thrown into like these senior waters, it's kind of a different thing, as you have heard two presentations ago. So what I also wasn't aware at the time, and this is really pity, I'm sure many of you have heard of this concept of technical debt, right? It's like, if you're writing a code, you're actually like the artifact of writing a code is you produce technical debt. It's just unavoidable. You can lower it, you can control it, but it's just an artifact of writing a code, right? And being a good developers as we are, we all know that we should schedule regular intervals to clean up our technical debt, right? And that's perfect. What we don't know, at least I wasn't aware of at the time, is that there is a thing called mental debt. If you're investing any kind of intellectual work, like mental work that development is, you're producing this mental debt. And you know, like, if you accumulate technical debt, your code becomes unmaintainable, right? Well, actually, the same thing happens with mental debt. If you let this debt accumulate, it will make your mind unmaintainable. And I was, air quotes, lucky enough to let this happen. So I kept accumulating this debt. And one of the manifestations of this mental debt is, you know, like, yesterday you were like super excited to work and happy and yada, yada, yada. But slowly, and I'm sure many of you can identify, slowly you just start realizing that your boss is a dick, actually, you know, and he kind of doesn't understand you, and it's like he's working against you. And your organization is actually a perfect example of a disorganization, and nothing works, and everything kind of sucks, right? I'm sure some can identify, right? So everything is like black and crappy, and I was at that place, thought my boss is an idiot. I was arguing with everybody, you know, like started having daily fights, and you know, I kept pushing it, like I kept accumulating this debt without ever being actually aware of it, and I literally, and I kid you not, I literally came to a point where I woke up one morning and I felt physically sick about going to the office. I felt physical sickness, like vomit reflex, by a sheer thought of going to the office for one more day, dealing with those same people again, you know, talking to my boss, to managers, to whoever, you know. I felt, and this is honestly, if you've never felt it, I honestly hope you will never actually experience this, because it really sucks. Like it's this pain that you can't get rid of because it starts from your head. But I kept pushing because, you know, like I was perfectionist, I was driven just by investing more hours. And to be honest, what I wanted to do, I wanted to show them that they are stupid and I was right, you know, so I kept pushing because of that. Well, it took a couple of months, but I eventually couldn't do it anymore, honestly. I quit. I also broke up with my long-term girlfriend of 6 years. I bought a motorcycle. I was pretty sure that it's time to start living a vida loca. You know, like I spent like first time of my 20s, you know, like coding the whole day. Now is the time to start living that life, you know, like drive the motorcycle and crap like that. And that worked, actually. And funny thing that we don't really realize about things in general is that when you get rid of something that was bothering you for a long time, and obviously my work and my relationship and everything was wrong and I was right, and when you get rid of that, you actually feel that temporary like relief, like, oh yeah, that was the problem, you know, like that's what was bothering me. So you think you solved all your problems. Well, as you can imagine, based on the picture in the background, a couple of months in, and I started having these. This is really crazy, like I never felt that before. I started having these crazy mood swings. Like I would wake up and I would be super hyped, like, yeah, let's nail the day, let's I don't know, let's party, let's do this, let's try, I don't know, everything. And by the noon, it's like only a couple of hours difference, my mood would literally plummet and I would be completely depressed, like, yeah, there's no point in anything, this sucks, you know, like everything is stupid, like why am I even doing this, yada, yada, yada. And then somewhere by the night, my mood would skyrocket again, you know, and I would be like, yeah, let's party today, you know, ah. stupid thinking, honestly. Anyway, again, I kept pushing, but I felt something is wrong. And, in every story, there is this one guy who's kind of a savior or like a clairvoyant or something who shows you the way. That was one of my best friends. He noticed that something was wrong with me, obviously, because I was having these crazy mood swings. And he approached me one day. He was like, Miksa, maybe, just maybe, you should consider visiting this therapist. And funny enough, now really check this out. So this was my best, two of my best friends. And I've known him for 20 years, I don't know. To that moment, to that time, I actually had no idea that he was attending the therapy. He was doing the therapy for already a year, dealing with some relationship issues, and I had no idea. So I think that just gives you a perspective on how tabooish this whole thing is. And funny enough, I kept denying it. I was against it, whatever. What I didn't really realize is, there is actually a name for this condition that I was going through, And at the time, I actually had no idea about it. But I think you might have heard about it, It's called a burnout. I had such a massive burnout that, you might think I'm kidding, but I'm not. I burnt out so much that just by thinking about passing near the office, and our ex-office was next to the Belgrade Arena, so it's kind of not that easy to avoid. Just by thinking of passing by the office, I felt sick, and I was avoiding it actually. So not even thinking about going there, visiting it to see the old colleagues, no. Just passing there was, it was dramatic. And obviously I rejected this idea, and I literally came up with every single book example of why I'm not going to do the therapy. For one, I wasn't crazy, therapy is only for crazy people. Second of all, even if I was a bit crazy, and I was probably going a bit crazy at the time, I can deal with my own problems because, this is what we are taught, actually. We are supposed to deal with our own problems. Why hire somebody to tell you how to solve your problems, So what I also didn't realize, and this is really, really problematic thing, our minds have evolved to react to everything that is unknown with a different state. Every time you face an unknown, your mind will go into this danger mode, completely produce every possible reason why not to do it, why to avoid it, why that will kill you. And you might think that's an evolutionary problem, that it's something stupid, right? But if you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. Because throughout most of the human history, while our brains were evolving, for most of the time, if you were actually faced with a situation that was unknown, for example, if you saw woods in front of you, and if nobody passed through that wood ever, and if you were actually thinking about going through that wood, there was a high chance that it literally would kill you. You probably would die, So that's how most of the history went through. Most of the unknown things were actually going to kill us. So that actually makes sense. The only problem is that during the last, 1,000 years or whatever, 500 years, not every unknown thing is going to kill you. And yet, our brains are still kind of slow to evolve, and they're kind of stuck in that old era. So pretty much, whenever faced with something unknown, your brain will go into this fight or flight mode. And that was just a survival mechanism, It kind of helped you survive another day to reproduce and to satisfy the mother nature. So it's fine. That's kind of what part of your purpose is. So anyway, I kept rejecting the idea of going to the therapy, and it's actually not that crazy, because later when I spoke to my therapist, what he told me, this blew my mind, what he told me is that it usually takes 11 months from the moment you hear about the therapy to the moment that you actually decide to do it. At least 11 months. So let me tell you this. If anybody ever mentioned the therapy to you, if you ever considered it, and you thought it's stupid, it's for crazy people, yada, 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 you're just statistics. I'm sorry to say it, but you're literally just part of the statistics. And that's absolutely fine. You will get to it. I was, again, air quotes, are lucky enough to be in such a bad shape that I actually couldn't wait 11 months. I waited maybe a couple months more, and I just realized that I can't keep doing this anymore. It was like, it was just a disaster in my mind, you know. So I decided to give a call to this guy, and as you can imagine, my mind went in full-blown danger mode, you know, like, how will the conversation go? How will he sound like? All those crazy things, you know, that were trying to tell me not to do it, you know, which actually, again, makes sense. But I make a call, and what I didn't know at the time, and I hope that you will take it out from this lesson, is I think these guys are actually trained to receive those first-time calls. They're actually trained to take your call and to calm you down immediately. Even if you never spoke to them, that's kind of what their education does. So as you can imagine I actually gave him a call, and he like calmed me down immediately, and we scheduled a meeting, and you know, like I was like, okay, that wasn't so bad. Obviously, I mean, I didn't die, obviously. And I can't really remember if it was like a couple of days after or a couple of weeks after, I don't really remember, but I go there, and again, as I'm walking to his office, I'm in full-blown panic mode. I'm generally like panicking about everything, you know, like my mind is completely like obliterating me with all these facts, like how is his office looking like? Is there like some weird kind of couch that I have to lay on, and you know, like is he going to touch me with some crazy hand? Right? I don't know. Like I absolutely had no idea what to expect there, right? Like, and how does he even look like? He might be like some crazy dude, you know? I don't know. Like everything was unknown to me. What I didn't expect, is just a pretty much your regular guy, like in his, I would say, I still don't know how old he is, to be honest. In his probably late 30s, he was wearing like a t-shirt, jeans, Converse sneakers, you know, like short hair, short beard, pretty normal guy. And his office, it wasn't even an office, it was like a super small flat. There was like a couch, but just your regular TV couch. There was a TV in front, a coffee table there. There was his desktop computer and stuff to the left. And he sits me down, he offers me a coffee, I take a black one, and he's like, okay, Mihailo, so what do you want to talk about? Just like that. And what you have to understand is that at the time, I was in such a bad mental shape, like every day was more and more of an agony. Like I would have these awful mood swings, and again, if you've never experienced it, I do hope that you will never experience it in your life, because it's just awful. Like at one moment, you're super excited, and at another moment, you're like completely depressed, and it just kills you, you know. So I tell him, well, you know, I quit my job, I broke up with my long-term girlfriend, I crashed my motorcycle. By the way, as part of living my La Vida Loca, I crashed into another guy. And I was just having these awful mood swings all day long, and I just think I need some assistance. I was probably looking at 1 or 2 sessions, not 7 years, to actually resolve all my issues. And to this day, and I kid you not, to this day, I remember this. What he actually told me is like, well, Mihailo, you know, if I kept this table in front of you for like 6 years, and then if I suddenly removed it, you would probably try putting a cup on it, it would fall and break, and you would be upset. So what's so wrong about being upset about having changed everything in your life in like past couple of months? And it sounds funny, but just like that, and I kid you not, just like that, at that moment, what he actually did, he swiped away everything, and he gave it a meaning. Like, before I was upset about being upset, which made me more upset, you know, but now he gave me a reason, like, yeah, that's normal, that's how you should be feeling, so it's absolutely fine that you are, you know. And here is what I want you to take out of this presentation as one of the most important lessons. Going to the therapy, if nothing, but for getting a fresh perspective is absolutely worth it. Because let me tell you something. Whatever is bothering you, you can definitely share that with your friends, with your family, with your partner, I don't know, it doesn't matter, with your parents. The problem is, these people are biased. They know you. They share even if you don't want it, they actually share the same things like that you think about, you know? So you're kind of on the same level. So they are heavily biased. And whatever they will tell you will be probably very similar to what you were thinking anyway. Sometimes no, but most of the time it is. It's just how it is. And yet, on the other hand, these therapists are actually trained to be unbiased. And second of all, they really start with with a blank canvas, because you will usually visit them in, I don't know, in like late 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, right? So it's not like I had a previous record of you. So going there just to get this fresh perspective, and I honestly think they're actually trained in giving you a fresh perspective. It's like when you are dealing with a problem, you actually see just through a loophole. You know, it's only one problem and there are no other solutions. And then they come and they give you another perspective on the same problem, but they just put it differently because they were trained to do it. And all of a sudden, it all starts making sense. It's not a solution to the problem, of course, but it actually helps you to stop feeling bad about whatever it is, and then they kind of guide you towards how to solve it. So that's like the lesson number one that I hope that you will take out of this. Now, lesson number two was a bit harder for me to swallow. You know, what he was telling me is, well, what he was telling me over the years is that it's actually okay to be feeling down. And the problem is that, at least myself, I was actually taught my whole life that if something is good for me, you know, like be it a job or a relationship or a friendship or whatever, I don't know, the travel, the vacation, whatever. If it's good for you, you should be feeling happy, you should be feeling excited, you should want to do more of it, yada, yada, yada. Because if you're not, then something is wrong. If you're bored, something is wrong. Not to even mention if you're feeling bad about something. Feeling bad about something that should be feeling good usually means that something is bad with it, right? So this was kind of a hard pill for me to swallow, and what he actually explained over the years, it took a while to settle down, is that just take for an example like a person who in a day loses their job, their partner leaves them, their kids abandon them, I don't know, their parents start hating them, whatever. Just a bunch of crap happens to them in a single day. If this person weren't feeling bad about what's happening at that day, at that time, at that point in their life, they would either be ignorant and weren't processing their emotions properly, which is even more bad, or they would have some problem with their brain chemistry. You know, like something would be wrong with their brain chemistry. Because obviously, if something is objectively bad, and that's happening to you, it's absolutely okay to feel bad. And it's not just okay to feel bad, it's actually, that usually means if you're feeling bad, you should kind of be happy because that means your brain chemistry is in sync. So you should be feeling good. And just by accepting that it's okay to feel bad, you actually start feeling a bit less bad because you acknowledge it and then, you know, like, yeah, that's okay. And then it passes faster. Now, I'm not saying that you should be feeling bad or depressed or whatever all the time, because if you are, I would suggest you to consult somebody who's, you know, like technical, who's like some therapist or something. But objectively, if you're feeling down or bad from time to time, trust me, it's absolutely fine. Now, lesson number 3, to this day, I haven't accepted it yet, to be honest. So I understand it, I understand that's how it is, but I can't accept it mentally. But I kind of worked out a framework on how to solve it. Basically, in real life, things are never black and white, right? It's always a mixture, you know. And yet, and this is what I told my therapist, I get you, I understand that, you know, not everything is black and white, whatever, but just think about it. If you're working in development, and I'm assuming that most of you are, if you're working in development, for most of your day, you're actually dealing with something that's either working or not. It's like 1 or 0, works or not. And don't even get me started with works on my computer. No, it's 1 on your local and it's 0 on the production. You know, so for 40 hours a week, you're actually dealing with works or not, black or white. You know, so it was absolutely insane to me to just start believing that. Well, yeah, but the real life doesn't work like that, because development was my real life. It was like where I was spending most of my time. So that's where I got that from. Now, what he taught me, and what I hope you will learn, and I hope you will focus now, because I think this is really important. Next time you are faced with something that is unknown, you know, like let's just take an example that you're faced with a decision on whether to change your job, right? So it's an unknown for us because we have no idea what will happen if we change the job most of the time. So what I want you to acknowledge is that the moment you start thinking about something that is unknown, your brain will go in that full danger mode. It will start producing every possible example of and every possible scenario of why that will kill you. Like, you might, it might turn out that that you suck at your job, you might get fired, you might lose your career, your partner, like all possible crap will probably come up to you, like on some level. For me, it's like heavy crap. Perfect. Now, what I want you to understand is that always, like, it's not just black and white. What you actually have is a scale. On the far left-hand side of the scale is the black, but there is another part of the scale, and that's white. So, okay, now you acknowledge the worst-case scenario, the black scenario. That's what your brain is serving you. Perfect. Now you have to fight a bit. Now I want you to come up with the best-case scenario. Like, what's the best that can happen out of that? Like, if we're talking about changing a job, the best would be, well, it might turn out it's much better than the previous job. It might turn out I'm earning way more, everybody loves me, I get promoted, yada, yada, yada. Perfect. So you put it on the right-hand side of the scale, all right? So you have like the worst-case scenario, like the black, and the white-case scenario, the white. 9 out of 10 times, and I kid you not, I tried it, it is. 9 out of 10 times, whatever will happen will be somewhere in the middle. Like every single 9 out of 10. Yes, sometimes it will be the worst case, for sure, but sometimes it will be the best case scenario as well. So it kind of cancels out. So that's what helped me, that mental framework, and that's something that I hope you will take out of this presentation. And finally, lesson number 4, which I honestly thought it's stupid at the time, because you have to understand that when you're doing the therapy, you're actually doing like what? Like 1 session a week for 60 minutes, or in worst case scenario, like the black case, you're doing like, I don't know, maybe 2 sessions a week, but it's still like it's just 1 hour or 2 hours. So you can't possibly deal with every single issue that you come up with, right? It's just impossible. Like time frame is really like limited, So what my therapist told me is he gave me this online form on his website. I think it was a WordPress website, so yeah, most likely, yeah, on this website, and he told me that he wants me to write down, like every time something upsets me, he wanted me to write it down. Like, describe what happened, who were the actors, how I felt about it, how it turned out, yada, yada, yada. And as I said, I honestly thought it's stupid. Like, why would I waste time writing things down? Because if it was important, I would probably remember it until next session. And if it wasn't important, I would probably forget it anyway. Stupid thinking. No. So there was an instance where I was seriously upset. I can't even remember what it was. So I decided to give a shot to this writing thing. So I go and write the thing down. And this is really interesting because when you're dealing with something that's upsetting you, you usually have this inner voice that keeps like arguing with itself in your head, and you keep having it and fighting, and it's pretty much a monologue, and it does no good. It usually doesn't stop. But funny enough, when you write things down, and it doesn't matter whether on a piece of paper or on a computer or whatever, the moment you write things down, it's actually like you literally get that thing out of your head. Believe it or not, like you literally get it down of your head, get it out of your head, and you actually, this is really funny, like instead of having only that inner voice, you're actually involving like your writing skills, your eye skills, your reading skills, I don't know, like your visual system, to actually look at the same problem. And funny enough, not only that you got it out of your head, but you actually also like kind of get a small scale, fresh perspective on it. So next time something is upsetting you, and assuming that you don't want to speak to a therapist, just write it down. And you don't even have to save it. Just write it down and throw it away and observe what happens. And those would be the 4 lessons that I'm hoping that you will take out of this presentation. I will give you a moment to appreciate them until I refresh myself. All right. Now, I was giving this presentation at another conference, and some of the feedback was like, yeah, it's all cool and dandy and yada, yada, yada. But what we are missing, and this is interesting, what we are missing is how it affected you personally. What did you resolve as part of the therapy? How, like how you dealt with some problems, like what people were missing are some real life examples, And I started thinking about it, and it's it's actually a challenging question, because how do you compress like 7 years of weekly sessions, like weekly 1-hour sessions, into like 1 or 2 slides, right? It's not an easy job to do. I can definitely create 100 slides and keep you here for 24 hours, but I assume that's not what you would like to listen to, right? So I was thinking about this for a while, and what I actually came to understand is that what this guy was doing the whole time is actually planting the seed. Seriously. He would literally take the things that I was telling him, like problems, wishes, whatever. He would slowly plant a seed in myself, then nurture it, water it, watch it grow, and then eventually have it like, become a plant, become an actual thing, right? So what are some of the things that he was watering, right? And before that, let me actually tell you one thing. Being able to plant a seed into somebody's mind is actually as close as having superpowers as you can get. Because if you think about it, if you're dealing with people, and I'm sure you had already 2 talks that discussed how you deal with people. Well, let's go a step back. If you're dealing with computers, you issue a command, and computer either does what you wanted or it fails, and then you fix a bug, right? But it's pretty much direct communication. When it comes to people, well, including myself, we have this awkward thing called emotions that kind of, like make everything more complicated. And just telling somebody to do something, just like with the computer, usually doesn't work, as probably most of you who have kids know, right? I mean, like, if you tell somebody to do something, he will do exact opposite of what you told him most of the time, or he will suck it off, or he will complain, whatever. But being able to plant a seed on something that you want, and which is something hopefully that he wants as well, is absolute superpower that you can have. Trust me, that one. So this guy was trained magician, obviously, like Superman or whatever. So some of the seeds he planted, for one, I always had this idea of finishing the university. Like, I had a Bachelor of Applied Sciences diploma, and I always thought it would be cool to have like Bachelor of Science, like, 4 full years of university, just for no reason, just for the sake of having it. 1 year after I start the therapy, I actually enroll in university, I actually finish it, I get my Bachelor of Sciences, and what's more, I actually enrolled into master's program as well, for reasons still unbeknown to me. Like, I enrolled in data science. Like, I was a PHP developer, software architect my whole life, and I enrolled in data science, master's program. I finished the Master of Science, I get my master's degree, again, like, still have no idea what use of it is. But anyway, and funny enough, he started planting this, but I noticed it. He started planting the idea of doing the PhD as well, and I was like, man, this is where we stop, like this is where we put the line, like, just don't. Like, I will not go the PhD path. That's one. Another one, I was actually, I'm scared to admit it, honestly, but I was having serious issues with my relationships, with all of my girlfriends. Which is actually funny, because I was always the relationship guy. I was always the guy who was in a relationship, and yet all of them failed, like a lot. So I actually kind of praise myself as being the failed relationship guy, And what I didn't realize is that I was actually driven by this, if the relationship is good, you should be feeling good, like kind of mantra, which is completely stupid. What he told me, and when I say told, I'm talking about like 5 years or whatever, period. What he taught me is that, and some of you might hate it, but the way he would put it was, Mihailo, relationships are boring. Like, it's absolutely okay to be bored. That's how it should be. And you will have like ups, you will have downs. Most of the time it will be neutral. That's how it should be. And lo and behold, today, not only am I in a pretty much committed and happy relationship, I'm actually discussing to start living with my girlfriend, which should happen in like, I don't know, like next month or 2, I hope, which was something completely unimaginable for myself. And on top of that, I was always, like for 32 years, I was the anti-baby guy. Like I loved children, but I would never have children on my own because, you know, like for a bunch of reasons. And yet, lo and behold, we are actually discussing having a baby as well, you know. So I honestly just think I definitely give this to my therapist as a result, you know. And thank you. And funny enough, if you actually remember from the beginning of this story, I was telling you about this stupid company that I left, my boss who was a dickhead, the lack of organization, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Well, one thing led to another. I have no idea how it happened. I actually came back to this same company. I've been here for almost 6 years now. I'm having the best time of my career, and I'm actually hiring in my team, so if you're interested, you can apply. So yeah, sorry. Yeah, I have like, yeah, we have some open positions in my team as well. And on top of that, and this is a really interesting thing, what I didn't tell you before is that I was always a yes man, because I was always afraid of saying no to people. Because my assumption was, if I tell you no, I will hurt you, and you will feel bad or sad or pissed, and that would make me a jerk. So I never wanted to be a jerk, so I was pretty much a yes man, saying yes to all the kind of crap that I didn't want to do, right? So I told this to my therapist, and I told him, well, you know, like, I don't want to be a jerk, you know, like, you see the pattern, like, I don't want to be a jerk, like, black. I wanted to be a yes man, like a guy who everybody likes. I was the white man, so jerk or not, like jerk or yes man, I chose yes man. What he was teaching me, I'm saying teaching because it's still in progress, is that, again, yes, there is a scale, but in the middle of that scale is something called assertiveness, being assertive. If you've never heard about it, it's a topic on its own. Please Google it, being assertive. It pretty much boils down to standing down for yourself, saying what you want, what you don't want, without actually feeling bad about it. And what's even more funny for us developers, or at least it was funny for me, it comes with kind of a diagram of like, if you're feeling like that, do that, and stuff like that. So it kind of comes with a workflow how to be like assertive, you know. So I was training this assertiveness, and lo and behold, like, for 12 years, I was like a PHP developer. And just thinking about management was, again, giving me that vomit reflex. And not because I thought it's bad to be a manager, but because I actually thought I don't know how to do it. And I was scared of telling people what to do and stuff like that. Well, lo and behold, as a combination and culmination of all his work, I actually took an engineering management position, and today, like, I'm a head of platform development at Jagger, and yes, we're hiring, by the way. So I think that's a really cool thing. So, you know, I'm sure that many of you will, and I'm closing it down, by the way, if you're hungry. I'm sure that many of you are still wondering whether to do it or not. So let me put it really simple for you. And I want you to remember this image. And somebody actually used it the other day, so I was like, oh, wow. Either you take care of your mental debt or you burn out. There is no if, it's only either or. Either take care of your mental health or burn out. That's about it. And trust me, do the therapy, it's absolutely worth it. And if you're kind of still reluctant, here are just two, like, these are like kind of refactorings around the shitty code. One is meditation, like just take a nap, like Headspace or something, I don't know, Calm. Meditation helps, it's not a solution, it's just like kind of refactors some of the mental debt, it clears some noise. And the second one is writing a diary. I've been journaling for the last year every single morning, and trust me, it absolutely sets your mind for the day. I first, in the morning, I wake up, I take a shower, I write my journal, and then I go exercise. And trust me, this sets your mind for the day and kind of puts you at the proper pace, so to say. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for listening. I appreciate your time. You can, yeah. Thank you. You can visit my blog, which was supposed to be a technical, but it turned out to be everything but not technical. And yeah, feel free to contact me on social media. So I'm happy to take any questions if you have.
Yeah, let's go for the questions. Any questions for Mihailo? That's
Don't be afraid.
That's silence.
Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you once again.
Thank you.